For the past few months, I've been testing out the Skyrover X1. Now, I'm not going to dive into the whole theory about whether or not this is a DJI shell company. There's loads of other videos that have already done that. Also, I did pay for this drone out of my own pocket. Skyrover did not sponsor this video. So there's a lot to unpack. I made a bunch of notes here. But of course, if I miss anything or if you do have any additional questions or anything like that, make sure you leave them down below. So first, let's talk about photo. For photos, you can either shoot in 12 megapixel or 48 megapixel. So if you're shooting in 48 megapixel, when you zoom in on your images, you're gonna see a lot of chromatic aberration. Especially when you compare it side by side to the 12 megapixel, there's like hardly any on 12 megapixels, but on 48, you can see a lot of it, and once again, especially if you start to punch in. So if you're wanting really large prints of your drone shots, this will probably be a bit of an issue. Now, Lightroom doesn't have built-in lens corrections for this drone, so you'll have to play around with it manually. You can eventually kind of get that to go away, but it starts to break apart some of the other parts of the image. I just don't really like it. For me personally, I would just stick with 12 megapixel, which I'm also not planning to print any of these. So for web, 12 megapixel is perfectly fine, and it honestly looks the best. Now, panoramas, on the other hand, are an absolute blast. So whenever you shoot in panorama, it will save all the different photos, so you can manually stitch it together if you want. But I found that the actual just Skyrover app does the stitching really well. You can see in this panorama I took right here, it does have a bit of darkening, almost like a vignette, and just some kind of strange spots. But altogether, though, it's not too bad. And this is a feature that I didn't really expect to like or use that much, but it's been a really fun thing to use. So of course you can shoot in JPEG, RAW, or RAW plus JPEG, which is what I typically do. The RAWs color grade really well, obviously just depending on your composition, your lighting, and everything like that. I found that if you have like a really high contrast scene, like a really good mixed amount of contrast and some colors in there, that's when you get the best color grade out of these images. Now let's talk about video. This is the main reason why I bought the Skyrover, and it's probably the main reason why you're considering getting a drone as well. So in video, you have a lot of different options to choose from. You can shoot up to 4K 60 in standard mode, or you can also shoot up to 4K 100 or 1080p 200 if you want S&Q. Now, we'll give you a fair warning right off the rip. I found that the 4K 100 and the 1080 200 in S&Q bring in a lot of noise. So in this video I'm showing right here, I shot this in 4K 100. I had the ND64 on, and I had the ISO set to 400. And there is very noisy, very grainy. To me, it just does not look good at all. Now, ultimately, that's not a problem for me. There's not really hardly any situations that I would ever want to shoot in 4K 100 or any type of S&Q mode. Typically, I just leave it in 4K 60 or 4K 24. Even with that being said, I would not boost the ISO on this more than 200. Anything higher than that, you're going to start getting a very grainy image, and it's just because of the sensor size. Now, the 4K 60 image, just in general, looks great. It especially starts to look great once you get the ND filters, which don't come free with the drone. You do have to buy those separately. I think they were $50, I believe. I'll post a link for them down below and a picture up here. So I believe they were around $50, but I think they are a very, very much needed purchase. So for color, you have two options. You can either shoot in standard Rec 709, or you can shoot in HLG, which is a hybrid log gamma mode. Now there's no log on this drone, which I'm not really surprised by, but thankfully the color is 10-bit color. So what I prefer to do is to shoot in HLG. Gives you a bit of a flatter profile, very similar to kind of like Sony's S-Cinetone, but it gives you like a nice flatter profile that you can work with. You can still tweak it. As it's 10-bit color, you can still get plenty of flexibility out of it to match your footage. You also have vertical shooting, which you can do for photo or video. And one thing I really, really love is how easy it is to switch to vertical shooting. There's not like a weird menu setting or anything like that. You don't have to go diving for it. It's right there on the home screen. You just tap it and the camera immediately orients to vertical, and you have full range of motion for your tilt and pan. And lastly, as this mainly pertains to video performance, and I've already kind of touched on this, is the small sensor. It has a very small sensor. I think it's like just over an inch. Now, just in general, most drones have small sensors. So you have to be able to understand how to shoot with that. Basically, it's just going to perform really bad in low light, and if anything, you really want to avoid having to crank that ISO up. Now, some additional features. First, it has incredible object avoidance, like as good as DJI drones, which, I mean, come on, we all know this is probably just a DJI clone. But yeah, it's as good as every DJI drone. Like, I mean, it is so freaking good. It even notices the smallest little things. Like, I could be flying near a power line, and it can detect that. The only thing it can't detect is like very paper thin things. Like I accidentally hit a branch one time, like a tiny little branch. It didn't mess my drone up. That was just too small for the sensors to pick up. But for the most part, They are very sensitive sensors and like just incredibly good. The smart tracking on this drone is also incredibly good. Like even just the smallest, weirdest objects, it can pick up very easily, and which is really good for houses. Like if you shoot a lot of real estate, you just draw a box around the house, set up in whatever camera motion you're wanting to do, and it will stay locked on. It keeps that thing in like the center point of view or however you have it oriented. And it, like I said, it rarely drifts. It's quite impressive. I am blown away by how well it actually works. And then lastly, for recreational shooters, this drone weighs 249 grams, which means it's just under that threshold to where you don't have to have it registered and you don't have to fly with remote ID. So for some additional details here, there's going to be sort of some pros and cons. First is the flight time. So this is all dependent on, the weather that you're flying in, the overall conditions, and of course the shooting mode. But in 4K 60, I'm averaging about 25 minutes per battery, which I think it's pretty good. Like I think the website advertises like max flight time of like 35 minutes or 30 minutes or something. So it's close enough. Like, I mean, that's pretty standard for most drones in general anyway, so I'm not going to complain about that. Now, I think one huge sticking point for a lot of people is the controller. This is not the type of controller that has the built-in screen. You do have to use your phone for the controller. I've used DJI drones with the built-in screen. Those are always pretty nice, but they can be a little laggy. I'm perfectly fine with using my phone for a screen because I always have my phone with me anyways. And if you enable cache recording, it stores on your phone, so you have access to quick little cache files, which are kind of like a lower quality, more compressed file, but nonetheless, they're stored on your phone. So if you want to quickly view what you just shot, boom, you get it right there. Now, one thing that actually kind of impressed me about this drone is that for how lightweight it is, like it feels like a toy. Like, I mean, it's kind of concerning in some ways, but surprisingly, it can handle pretty strong winds to an extent. So if you're closer to the ground, it really handles strong winds just fine. If you start to get really high up, like you get 250 feet or 300 feet, then you're going to start getting strong wind warnings if you have really strong winds coming through. The footage surprisingly doesn't get shaky, but you will start getting warnings and it won't really let you fly until you get to a safer condition. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it does have a set of ND filters you can buy separately. The only thing that's weird though is that they kind of use like a pretty strange range, I feel like, and this has been a pretty large complaint online about them. You get a 16, a 64, and a 256. It would have been nice to have maybe like a larger set or an additional set you could buy as well that's more incremental, because like sometimes it'd be kind of nice to have an 8, or it'd be kind of nice to have a 32, because like I said, the 64 is usually fine in like bright daylight, but once the sun starts to go down a little bit, you really need an in-betweener. Like you need something in between 16 and 64, I feel like. Now going back to its weight, as I said, it's extremely lightweight, but also it feels very delicate. The biggest concern I would have is that if you crashed it, which just in general, probably shouldn't crash any drone, and most drones probably can't survive a hard crash anyways, but in most cases, I feel like if you crash this drone, you're probably going to break it or at least break something off on it. It is a very lightweight drone, and like I don't want to say it feels cheap. It just doesn't feel sturdy at all. But to branch off from that, the design of it, I really, really love the colorway on it. At first, it was kind of polarizing to me because I'm not used to seeing, it looks like the body of a DJI drone, but it's like this bright yellow color. It was kind of strange to me to look at it first, but after I actually got it and I started flying with it, I realized how good that is because it's very visible. Like even from, probably 150 to 200 feet, like if you're flying by yourself, you don't have a visual observer, and you need to look up in the sky and try to figure out where you're oriented at the moment, you can spot that drone pretty easily, as opposed to like a DJI drone, which is just a gray color, and once you get up in the sky, it's the same color as the sky pretty much. Especially if you have a lot of cloud coverage. So very visible, and I think that was a nice touch, and that's maybe something that other drone manufacturers will probably take note of. Now for price, this thing runs for $899 if you get the combo. The combo includes 3 batteries, you get the case, you get extra props, and you get the battery charger, which also is like a battery storage case. It's a very, very good combo, and honestly, like you can buy the drone by itself. I think it's like $650 or $700. I'll post the price up on the screen. But I highly recommend just getting the combo, because once you take this thing out and you start flying, and like I said, you're only going to get about 25 to 30 minutes of flight time anyways, you're going to realize pretty quickly you wish you would have just gone ahead and bought the extra batteries. Then you're going to spend more money if you hadn't just got the combo. So just get the combo if you're looking to get this drone. But once again, the $899 price for literally the equivalent of the DJI Mini 4K Pro, or whatever? No, DJI Mini 4 Pro. There we go. Sorry. The equivalent of the DJI Mini 4 Pro. I mean, that's such a good deal, man. Like, because I think you're saving like $500, $600 or something like that. Like that is just an incredibly good price. And if you compare it to the competitors, like the ones that are of equal price that are on the market, none of them, not a single one of them, have the object avoidance and the subject tracking that's as good as this drone. So, I mean, that right there just makes the price very well worth it. Right now, this is the best alternative to DJI on the market. Now, the only thing is, or at least on the budget end, because the only thing is, there isn't an alternative to the high-end DJI stuff, like the Mavic and stuff like that. I mean, there is from like, I think like Autel or some brands like that, but there's not like a DJI, like, or Skyrover doesn't have a high-end offering. Like, they don't have anything to match the Mavics at the moment, but maybe that'll come here in the future. Now, the only people I'd say that would be very disappointed in this drone are photographers that need their photos for print. Like I said, for web use 12 megapixel, or I mean, you could probably even get by with 48 megapixel and it's gonna be perfectly fine, because most likely your photos aren't gonna be zoomed in on, or at least not that much. But if you need these for big prints, I don't know if the 12 megapixel would hold up very well, and the 48 megapixel just has so many like blemishes and incorrections going on. I don't think you would be happy at all. Like, I think you would find pretty quite quickly that you've wasted $900. However, though, I would say for video, this is probably the best drone you can get for sub $1,000 right now. Anyways, if you want to check out the Skyrover, make sure you hit the links down below, support the channel, all that jazz and everything. Happy flying, go make real stuff, get out of here, do whatever, I don't know. See ya.